any day? I mean, you have an idea to have certain day at certain time. Make sure that not in the morning Indonesian time, yeah, because yeah, most of you are still on the bed, maybe. Yeah. So, what day is it? Do you have any idea? Oh, can we have on the, let's say, on the weekend? Yeah, yeah, it's possible that the replacement days on the weekend as well. So, but it's again depend on you. Let's say on what day you prefer. The replacement day.
But maybe Saturday. Maybe we need to coordinate it together first with my friends, because we have other friends that have different schedules from ours. So maybe we need to discuss it, and then we tell you, inshallah. Inshallah.
Okay, okay, that's good though. So you can discuss it not now. Okay, so just let me know. Let's say if you have come to an agreement on certain day or at certain time. Well, for me, the weekend is okay, and even just Friday afternoon is okay with me as well. Yeah, before the meetup, it's okay. So just we have one meeting, right? So,
Yes.
so well, you can make it on. You can decide it on either Saturday or Friday. It's okay.
Okay. But Mu'allimin, we just made a group WhatsApp, and we added you. Actually, you made it a few days ago. I just added you. You please tell us the time that's suitable for you.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if you have like a few times, for example, on Saturday and Monday, then you tell us on Saturday from this time I'm available, and on Sunday available, and then we choose among both of them the time that suits most of us. Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So I tell you what day I'm available and what time is it, and
Yes,
then it
yes.
can be not only one,
We
but
decide. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
3 choices. Okay, that's good. So okay, I'll try to yeah, to send you as soon as possible. What's the name
Okay.
of the group anyway?
I just added you, but translation learning class.
Okay, the name. What's the name of the group?
On WhatsApp, translation learning
Oh,
class.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay,
just
I'll
added
check.
you. Yes.
Just a minute for their attendance to check first. Yeah, just a minute. So Sadaf and Sarvaras, yeah? Yeah, it's done. So all of you have signed in for the class. Either both Sarvaras and Sadaf as well. So everyone is in this class. Okay. Okay, Sarvaras, are you ready to discuss something?
Sir, actually, today will be me and Francisca, sir.
Oh, I see. Nurul and Kalista. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it's it. It should be last week, right? Okay, see. Yeah, so Cerberus and Sada will be next. Okay, Nurul, yeah, and Francisca, okay, time is yours. The screen is yours. Yeah, I'm still trying to uh, get into the MS team. Still in the process. Yeah, with my computer, but you can start with my handphone. It's okay. Yeah, it's on the screen now.
Okay, sir. Should I start now?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Mr. Mualimin. Mm, today we are from Group 2, and we are going to present about translation techniques. But before that, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Nuris Mania as the first presenter today, and my partner is Francisca Inapas Kawur as the second presenter today. Okay, here's the outline for today's presentation. The first one is about what is translation technique, and then the second one is what are the techniques in translation. So we are going to start with the first one. So what is translation technique? According to FOF 2020, translation technique is a method applied in translation to describe the result of translation and to classify the types of translation solutions. And then according to Mlina and Abit, 2002, translation technique is procedure to analyze and classify how translation equivalent works. And it refers to the steps taken by the translator to translate the text. Furthermore, Mlina and Abit also state that translation refers to actual steps taken by the translator in each textual microunit. Okay, according to Mlina and Abit 2002, there are 18 translation techniques. The first one is amplification, borrowing, then compensation, discursive creation, established equivalent, and then there are literal translation, modulation, reduction, transposition, calque, and then adaptation, generalization, particularization, substitution, description, linguistic amplification, linguistic compression, and the last one is variation. So I will describe the technique one by one. Start from the first one. The first technique is amplification technique. Amplification translation is a translation technique to introduce details that are not formulated in the source language. The details, it can be information or explicative paraphrasing. Here's for the example from the source language. In Indonesian, sate ini enak sekali. And when it translates to the target language, which is English, it becomes this Indonesian food, sate is very delicious. We can see that there is an underlying word here. The word Indonesian food shows that sate is original food from Indonesia. So the translator add some information about sate itself. Okay, the next one is borrowing. Borrowing is a translation technique in which a translator expression straight from another language. It can be pure without any change, and or it can be naturalized as fit the spelling rules in the target language. Like for example, in source language, I like sandwich. And when it translates to the target language, saya suka sandwich. We can see that there is a red word here. Word sandwich will translate to Indonesian exactly the same, or target language exactly the same with sandwich itself, because there is no appropriate equivalent in the target language. And then the next one is compensation. Compensation is translation technique to introduce a source language element of information or stylistic effect in another place in the target language. Because the style on the source language cannot be applied to target language. Here's the example from the source language. A pair of scissors, and it translates to the Indonesian or target language, it's sebuah gunting. It's not like pair, it means sepasang. Not. Okay, the next one is discourse creation. Discursive creation is one of translation techniques to establish a temporary equivalent that is totally unpredictable out of context. Here's the example. Saya ngiler setiap kali melihat burger. When it translates to the target language, it becomes my mouth gets water every time I see burger. So the translator uses water here instead of salivating to describe someone who really wants a burger. This is done because the translator wants to get the reader's attention in reading the text or reading the word. Okay, the next is establish equivalence. Establish equivalent is a technique with the use of familiar terms or expressions based on dictionaries or everyday usage as an equivalent in the target language. Like the ambiguity translate to the Indonesian or target language, it becomes ambigu. And then the next is a literal translation. Literal translation is a well-known translation technique in which a translator translates a word or an expression word by word or word for word. It is when form coincides with function and meaning. We can see the example here from the source language. She is a student. So it translates to the target language word by word, like she means dia, and is means adalah, a student means seorang siswa here. Next one is modulation. Modulation is other translation technique that changes the point of view, focus, or cognitive category in relation to the source language. And it can be lexical or structural. Here's the example from source language. In Indonesia, semua orang menyukainya. And we can see that the target language become nobody doesn't like it. So the translator use nobody doesn't like it instead of everyone's love it. And the next one is transposition. Transposition technique is a translation technique used to change the grammatical structure, change the position of adjective, or even change the plural form to singular with the aim of adjusting the structure of the target language. And this is for the example of transposition technique. In a source language, saya punya buku biru, and then when it translates to the target language, it becomes I have a blue book. So this word buku biru translate to the target language become blue book, not book blue. So the translator change the position of the adjective and the noun. And then the next one is reduction. Reduction actually quite similar with linguistic amplification technique, but yet both of them has a similarity and the differences. And then for the similarity that the two of them has is that these two techniques both adjust one element in a sentence. For the differences itself between the reduction technique and the linguistic amplification technique is that the reduction technique reduces the information contained in the source language. Meanwhile, the linguistic amplification technique reduces the linguistic elements in a sentence. So we can see the example here from source language. Surabaya, the capital city of East Java province, is also known as the city of heroes. And then when it translates to the target language, it becomes Surabaya juga dikenal sebagai kota pahlawan. The translator didn't translate this right sentence into the target language. So the translator reduced the information contained of reduce the sentence of the source language. Okay, the next presentation will be presented by Francisca. Time is yours, Francisca.
Thank you, Isma. So I will continue the next translation technique, which is Calque. So it is a phrase or words borrowed from another language by literal or word-by-word translation or origin words. It is supported by the study conducted by Mlina and Albert, who stated that Calque is a literal translation of a foreign word or phrase. It can be lexical or structural. For example, in here, the source language is from English to Indonesia. Vice President of Indonesia is Yusuf Kala, and then the target language become Wakil Presiden Indonesia adalah Yusuf Kala. So in here, the translator translate the phrase or the sentence by word from another language by literal or origin words. And then next translation technique. And then the next is adaptation. So this technique replaces the original text or source language with one that is better to the culture of the target language, which is more familiar for target readers or cultural equivalent. This is supported by Mlina and Albert, who stated to replace an source language cultural element with one from the target language. So let's take a look at the example in here. The source language from English to Indonesian, plug in the headset provided near the door. And then the target language becomes colokan headset yang disediakan di dekat pintu. In this example, the word plug in the source language was translated into colokan in the target language. So it is the translator using adaptation technique since the target language culture didn't have concept which was exactly the same as the terms presented above. So plug here means to, like we know that, function by being connected to an electrical outlet, and the word colokan is one of the words from Sundanese from Indonesia, which means masuk. And in this case, the translator translated plug into colokan according to the cultural context. So it replaced the source language cultural element with one which had the same situation in the target language culture. And then the next translation technique, it is generalization. So it is a translation technique that uses a more general or neutral term at the target language. And the source language is more specific because the target language doesn't have any specific equivalent. This is urged by Mlina and Albir to use a more general or neutral term. It happens because there is no expression that has the same meaning in Indonesian. So for example, in here, source language from Indonesian to the target language to English. So terparkir 5 sepeda ontel and then becomes 5 bicycles were nearly parked. So in here, the underlying phrase is sepeda ontel. It is, we know that it is one of the type of bicycles in Indonesia which is used by the people at the time. And then this phrase sepeda ontel made more common or more general, as Mlina and Albert said, that it is general or natural term. So it is uh, more common into bicycles into English. So in the target language is used just bicycle, but the source language in here uh, more specific. But the target language in here just like the general one. And then next technique of translation, it is particularization. So particularization, it is the opposite of generalization. Therefore, this technique creates target language more specific, concrete, and precise than source language. This is also urged by Molina and Albir to use a more precise or concrete term. So it is in opposition to generalization. So let's take a look at the, for example, in here the source language from Indonesian, aku coba memandang mukanya becomes I try to look him in the eye. So we can see that the target language here is more specific than the source language. In Indonesian sentence, it is use muka, which means face, but in English translated into eye, which means mata. So whereas eye is a part of face, then translator translate into more specific, which is muka into eye. And then the next technique of translation, it is substitution. It is a translation technique that changes the meaning of linguistic elements for paralinguistic elements like intonation, gestures, or vice versa. And for example, in here, the source language is from English and the target language is to Indonesian. So both Japanese bow to each other becomes ketika orang Jepang memberi salam. And then the other example, like she is nodding, and then the target language becomes dia setuju. So in here, like the first example translated into ketika orang Jepang saling memberi salam. This technique is usually used in interpreting in the source language. So it changed the meaning of linguistic elements for paralinguistic elements, like the gesture itself. Also, like the second example, like she is nodding, and it means like dia setuju. And maybe the other example, like the Arab gesture of putting your hand on your heart, and then it is mean like is thank you. So it is used above all in interpreting. And then the next translation technique, it is description. It provides a description or explanation of the source language to be understood in the target language. Also, it is to replace a term or expression with the description of its form or and function. For example, in here, the source language from Indonesian to the target language, I like tempe, and the target language become saya suka tempe, makanan khas Indonesia yang dibuat dari kacang kedelai. So, in the target language in here, it provides or adding some description or explanation from the source language. So I in the source language just I like tempe, but in the target language they adding some explanation. Saya suka tempe, makanan khas Indonesia yang dibuat dari kacang kedelai. And then the next translation technique, and then the next translation technique, it is linguistic amplification, and then it usually uses a paraphrase to explain a word with no equivalent in the target language. So this is supported by Mlina and Albir, who stated to add linguistic elements. This is often used in consecutive interpreting and dubbing. For example, in here, from Indonesian to the target language, English, it is tahu kesalahan kalian, and then it becomes, do you know what you've done wrong? And in this example, the linguistic elements are added by translation, I mean translator in English, which not accessed in Indonesia. Or maybe the other example, like um, mm, maybe for the source language from Indonesia, like siapa, and then the target language becomes like who are you. So there is a adding some linguistic elements that the translator in English which not exist in Indonesian translation. And then the next, it is linguistic compression. It is in opposition to linguistic amplification, which this translation technique compresses the elements in the receptor language. This is also urged by Mlina and Albir to synthesize linguistic elements in the target text or target language. It is often used in simultaneous interpreting and subtitling. For example, in here, are you ready? And becomes like siap, because this translation technique is to synthesize the linguistic elements. So it cuts some linguistic elements in Indonesia. So maybe the other example, like from Indonesian language, like kemarin sore, and then the target language become yesterday. So the target language here, it is synthesized the linguistic elements from the target language. And then the next, it is variation. It replaces linguistic elements or paralinguistic that have an impact on linguistic variation. Mlina and Albir also supported this who stated that to change linguistic or paralinguistic elements like intonation, gestures that affect aspects linguistic linguistic variation, changes of textual tone, style, social dialect, geographical dialect, and etc. And for example, to introduce or change dialectal indicators for characters when translating for the theater, changes in tone when adapting novels for children, and etc. And then let's take a look at the example here. The source language is from Indonesian to the target language. Teng 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 teng, suara lonceng besar, and then it becomes ding 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 ding, the sound of the big bell. So it is the Indonesian textual tone, which is just teng teng teng, but into English it change becomes ding 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 ding, the sound of the big bell. And then the other example in here, it is from English, becomes give it to me now, and it becomes like berikan barang itu ke gue sekarang. Or because in here gue means like saya, and then or maybe aku, and then it is used typically for informal conversation in Jakarta. So it it has a relation with the dialect, or maybe the accent of the Jakarta itself. Or maybe the other example, like I had you, and then becomes the target language, like gue benci sama lo. And in this example, like it is translated have the same meaning, gue and lo, with saya and anda. And then yeah, it is used typically for informal conversation. And then yeah, it is to change the paralinguistic elements from like the intonation, the gestures, and the textual tone or style, and etc. And then the next uh, the conclusion. In here, there are many differences between the source language and the target language, such as vocabulary, grammatical rules, and the culture itself. By studying and knowing translation techniques, students can utilize and apply translation techniques in the text or language, considering several limitations, including context, grammatical rules, and other things between the two languages. Then, students can produce a good translation in transferring the meaning from the source language to the target language well. So I will give it to time to Isma back to end this presentation.
Okay, that's all from us today. We hope that you are guys get the point that we explained before. Okay, thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
muted. Okay, once again, thank you, Nurul. And also Francisca for your presentation. Um, okay, I think my suggestions for the point, you should write down the reference, yeah, the complete reference, and the name, and the author, the name, and also the title. So, so let's say if we need some more explanation, we may refer to, we may refer to the references that we have used. Okay. Well, we need your participation. We need your comment or maybe questions. And again, actually, well, theory of translation, and there are many writers. And yeah, it seems to me that Albert in Mlina. What's the title for this one? 2002. Francisca or no? My name still yeah, yeah. I mean in my computer, in my laptop, it's still, I don't know what's wrong with this. Still, yeah, going around and around. So it seems well, according to Rule and Francisco, there are 18, yeah, 18 techniques. Well, some are writers, they have postulated not as many as this one, but also I think there are some what's it? Maybe with more techniques, and then you may have some more ideas as well. Yeah, and here the first five is amplification, borrowing, compensation, discursive creation, established equivalent, and then the next one, literal translation, modulation, reduction, transposition, and number 10, how to pronounce it? I mean, number 10, how to pronounce this one? How to?
I think it's Calque, sir.
Folks, have you checked with the dictionary how to?
Yeah, I think it's Calque.
Yeah, is it English word or is
Yeah,
it a borrowing word?
I think it's English or borrow language, maybe, sir.
Yeah, okay, and then the last, yeah, next, yeah, um, the 11 is adaptation, generalization, particularization. I mean, generalization, particulation, just like the opposite, yeah. And then substitution, description, and then the last three, linguistic amplification, linguistic compression, and variation. Okay, I think we may have some more. Yeah, let's say from, well, some words are in Bahasa in English, and I don't know for sure. Let's say, yeah, the others from, let's say if we are Indonesian, so it is, I mean, the source language Indonesian, easier for us. But let's say for the Stella, for Stella, for Hazel, maybe Sarfaros, and also Sadaf. Yeah. You might have question related to this one. Related to the examples, because the examples in the source language is okay, just like this one, sate ini enak sekali. Okay, well, for us as Indonesian, we know the meaning. But let's say sate, okay, maybe some of you that know sate, just like well, in terms of the way we cook it and the way we prepare it, just like satay is actually just like barbecue, but in a different style, yeah. And maybe the seasoning is also different. But satay is usually it is meat, yeah, and there are two, well, actually two kinds of meat. Popular, I mean, the most popular one is sate ayam or chicken satay, and sate kambing, just like lamb satay. Yeah, it's from goat or from sheep. Yeah? The meat. And so once again, in amplification here, we need to explain what satay is. At least satay is one of the Indonesian food. Okay, Sarfaros, you want to say something? Yeah, I cannot open my Microsoft Team in my computer. I don't know what's wrong. And okay, Sarfaros, can you, let's say, because I cannot see, I cannot read your message, because I cannot open my computer, my laptop. It seems that you have questions here. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear
Yes, sir.
you.
Okay. Do you have questions from you? Let's say. Any question from you? Oh, okay. Once again, either Nurul or Francisca, would you? Write down the reference. Tolong referensinya itu tidak hanya nama ya.
Sorry, sir.
Ya. Your referensinya apa? Itu tadi kan ada menyebut beberapa nama ya. You mention name there, yeah.
Yes. From Mlina and Albert, sir, in their journal or article. I forgot that.
Yeah, yeah. It's better that you let's say mention, to write down the title of the, let's say, article, the title of the book. So let's say if everyone, yeah, anyone want to trace your reference, they can read by themselves. Because sometimes we need to have more explanation from the reference.
Okay, sir. I try to send the references to
Yeah,
the group.
you can write down on the last page of your presentation.
Oh, okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah, it is easier. Okay, actually, I want to share some references that I've got so far related to the techniques, but again, still I have problems with my laptop. So, okay, Hen, you want to say something?
But actually, I want to tell you, if you want to send me the files that you want to share, then I share it from my computer. I can do it.
Yeah, okay. From the reference that I've mentioned, actually, that we have on the RPS, and I think I've written down some reference as well there. So actually, I want to share some um, references as well related to the techniques here.
Yes.
According to Francisca, they got, I mean, more so far. What I've seen is not as many as this one. So I think it's better to. So that's why I asked him uh, to write down their,
The references.
yeah, the reference. It is don't know why it's there. Yeah, I still have problem. Okay, and you may share
Yes.
what yeah from your experience dealing with, because your thesis is on translation anyway.
Yes. Yes.
Mm.
Actually, my thesis was on translation, but I used the same theory that Francesca presented today. So,
Mm.
if you want me share some, just let me find my thesis.
Yeah, I think yeah, you just some example there. I mean, related to
So,
techniques. Yeah,
okay,
basically
just a minute. Do you allow me to just a minute?
yeah.
I'm just trying to find the part that has a lot of examples on techniques, so
Yeah,
it's gonna be like a practice.
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, just a minute. It's 1:30. Okay, but I'll share my screen. Okay.
Oh yeah, the references. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Not the references, just examples. How can we apply those techniques? Do you want me
Mm.
to use the references?
Yeah, I mean, some examples as well. Yeah. So,
Yes.
I mean,
Just
if you have a lot of more examples, so it's clear. You may have some example from not from the source language, not in Bahasa, if it is possible.
okay.
So
Do you
yeah.
have? Can you see my screen right now?
Now, yeah, I can see yours. I mean, on
Okay.
my laptop. Yeah.
As explained by Francesca earlier, the techniques, because my thesis was in techniques of translation used within the movie, the subtitle of the movie Pride and Prejudice, and this is a subtitle that was based on a novel, very popular one by Jane Austen. So, in this movie, in this subtitle, I found 13 techniques out of the
Mm,
18 techniques presented by Albert and Mlina.
I see.
So the first one was adaptation, amplification, borrowing, which is biminjaman, badanan lazim, badana established equivalent, generalization, amplification linguistic amplification, compressive linguistic compression, the literal translation, modulation, particularization, reduction, transposition, and variations. So here
Yeah,
adaptation, as
you got
explained
13
earlier.
here. Mm.
Yes, but
Yeah, you got 13 here in Francesca got
literal
18.
translation. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. 18
Well, let's
techniques,
say,
yes.
yeah, if you refer to the same reference, yeah, if
I
you
know,
want,
actually, for sure, because that was a thesis. So I had to use a lot of references and a lot of thesis. I read a lot of parts that's written in thesis written by or online, different people about translation. I tried to merge all the opinions to have it like link up, yeah, so more complete. I mean.
yeah,
So
yeah, I know.
here are some examples about the adaptation. In adaptations, we have some elements or some terminologies that's already available in the target language, in the target culture, and we have it replaced with the one that's available in our culture. So, for example, in this movie, the subtitle, uh, the first example, it was the data of number 2 in the target language, the source language, which English language, of course, it was English language. It was my dear Mr. Bennett. Have you
Mm,
heard? So it
mm,
was translated Swamiku, Tuan Bennett, Swamiku, dengar ini. So she translated the word my dear to the word Swamiku.
mm,
Yes, despite the fact that she didn't, in the English version, the original version, she didn't say my husband. She didn't say
mm,
anything that indicates the relationship between both of them, but it was translated Swamiku. Have you
mm,
heard? It was translated dengar ini. It wasn't
mm,
translated apakah anda sudah dengar.
mm,
It was translated dengar ini.
mm.
So that's what we call adaptation or adaptation. This is
Okay,
just
so
an example.
yeah, yeah, just a minute. Here, let's
Yes.
say even um to one sometime is not really uh it's not really the right one because usually we never use the one for husband, right?
Yeah, I don't think this is one. I don't know what this word come from.
I know, yeah,
Now I
I know.
forgot.
Okay,
But I
let's
think
say, yeah,
my main focus was
yeah,
Swamiku. Yet I don't
yeah,
think the
but my
word one
dear,
because I
yeah,
know.
yeah, Swamiko, that's good. And here,
Yeah.
have you heard it? Mean it is just like in a yes no question, right?
Yes. Yes.
In English,
Have you
but
heard?
in the
No, but
target,
actually, it was not a yes no question. She's just
just
like
yeah,
giving
it's
him.
yeah, just like
She wants
imperative.
to initiate. Yes,
Yeah,
she wants to tell him a story. She wants to tell him something. So she wants to give him like
mm,
indications that she want to start something interesting. She's gonna tell a
yeah,
story of
yeah.
something interesting happening. So she said,
Okay.
"Dengar ini dan suamiku."
Yeah,
She used the word suamiku because this is more similar to the Indonesian culture. She wouldn't be
yeah.
saying the literal translation for the word my dear. It's
Mm,
more accurate if it were translated swamiku. She adapted that from the Indonesian culture. That's why we
yeah.
call it adaptation. So
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
another example was given. Please, it's 10 in the morning. So Bahasa
Mm,
Susaran, it was translated in Indonesian, aduh, ini jam 10 pagi. So
mm,
the girl was telling her mothers that shouldn't be starting to give them, like reprimand them in the morning and telling them to do that and that. And it's still in the morning. So she doesn't
mm,
have to start like giving them a piece of her mind in the very morning
mm,
like that because it's still morning. So she doesn't need
mm,
to be very angry in the beginning of the day. So it was translated, the word please was translated ado.
mm.
So
I know.
this
Yeah.
also what we call adaptation. And for my
It
friends who do not know the word ado, it's like
it's
um,
complaining, right? Just
yeah,
like
it's
complaining.
complaining. It's like oh my
Mm.
God, like oh my
Yeah.
God, goodness, something like that
I think
in English. So
adu,
this, yes,
I think adu means I have read it in somewhere. I think it's somehow leaving a place and saying Khuda Hafiz or something else. Yeah.
no, actually, Sadaf, this is an Indonesian word. It's different from the word that's available in Urdu. This is
No, no, no.
completely different.
I have read it in Shakespeare's play. Yeah, in Hamlet. Yeah, it's I think spelling is something like this.
Yeah, but this is different. This is used by Indonesian in their daily life to express like goodness. Oh my God, you're doing that again. Someone being angry about the manner that's done by another person. So yeah,
Okay.
maybe I understand. Yes,
Hein, you
yes.
what's your what's that the your data from what the source social
It was Indonesian subtitle. It
mm.
was Indonesian subtitle that was approved by my professor, but I didn't translate it. It
Oh,
was
I see.
written translation. I
Mm.
just used it for for a subtitle that was used. I mean, it was already translated. So
Okay, yeah.
um yes. So
Yeah,
can I
yeah,
go on top?
because
So
yeah,
yes,
because
second.
you can translate yourself. So, like, please here. I mean, maybe the speaker is. I mean, yeah,
Yeah, I understand what you mean, but this is a very popular novel, and
yeah.
actually, I read the novel, and I know the movie. I've watched the movie like tens of times. I watched the
I
movie
see.
a lot, so I
Okay.
understand totally what they mean, and I read the book already. So because I watched the movie a lot, and read the
Mm,
translation
mm.
of the novel in Indonesian as well, and
Oh, I
read the
see.
original version in English. Yes.
A subtitle, yeah, in bahasa.
Yes,
Oh, I
both
see.
the subtitle, of course, and the translation of the novel itself,
Oh, I
because
see.
the translation of the novel is available in Indonesian as well.
Oh, I see.
I borrowed
Okay.
it from the library of UMS by then. So
Oh, I
the
see.
second technique, yes, linguistic compression,
Mhm.
which means that we have a lot of elements that this technique that tends to amplify. So, like the linguistic elements in that technique that are used in the dialogue, um, we make them like congested. This
Mm,
is compressing linguistic. We compress them. We have a lot of linguistic elements, then we compress them to be like less. I mean, not many elements as they used to be.
mm,
So, an example for that would be
mm,
in the English version, the original one. I
mm,
wish to tell me, my dear, I doubt I have any choice in the matter. Here is a husband who was telling his wife that uh, whatever you want, because I know that if even if I don't want to hear you, you will still tell me the story. So I have no choice.
mm.
So yeah, it was translated in the Indonesian version. Ceritakan sayangku, aku mana ada pilihan. I don't have any choice in that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we can see the English version. It was a lot of
A lot of
words.
words there, yeah.
Yes, and
And
it was totally
compressed
compressed.
into, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Um, so another example for that would be, please do me the honor of accepting my hand. The man was proposing to the girl to get married to him. He was Mr. Darcy proposing to Miss Elizabeth, wants to get married to her, and then this terminology, this idiom, do me the honor of
Mm,
accepting my hand. It was
mm,
translated, tolong menikahlah denganku.
mm.
Please get married to me. It
Yeah.
is translated, please get married to me. Because I think in Indonesian version, we don't have something like, I'm not sure myself. I think you have something like that in Indonesian, like to accept someone's hand in marriage.
Mm,
Like this is a way to propose in English. So it was translated like that. I don't know, maybe the translator didn't have enough knowledge, or maybe this is the simplest way to translate it, but it was totally compressed because there was a lot of words, there was terminology that was used idiom, but was translated in a different way.
And usually the context will help you much. Let's say, like in this one, let's say, the situation between the man and woman in this
Yes,
situation. So by looking at the context, yeah, the physical context. Um, the expression here is almost the same as, yeah, tolong menikahlah denganku. Okay, yeah.
yes, yes. And actually, after that, when I gave the examples, I wrote the details of the context, but in the thesis. So I gave explanation. Dalam contoh technique compresi linguistic di atas. In this example above, Mr. Darcy proposes to Elizabeth and expresses his feeling of love towards Elizabeth, and he hopes that she accepts his proposal.
I
Then
see.
Mr. Darcy uses the word, "Please do me the honor of accepting my hand." The style of this language and the words and the vocab used here by Mr. Darcy is his way that's usually used in English version to show that someone wants to propose to a girl, like in a gentle, manly manner, like in a nice manner. Then it was translated like that. So, tolong menikahlah denganku.
Yeah.
By the way,
Yeah.
but actually, this movie and this novel also, it was written, I think, by the beginning of 19th century. So the language of English language was a little bit complicated, sophisticated, not like the daily life, daily
Modern
English
one.
life. Yes.
The modern
So
English, I see.
yes.
Yeah,
So
maybe
that was
Middle
about
English, yeah.
second technique. Yes, but excuse me.
Maybe it's Middle English instead of modern English.
And actually not Middle English because it still can be understood by everybody, but the words are kind of sophisticated. Like
Okay.
sometimes you need to focus to understand what does she mean. The writer, Jane Austen, means by writing this here. But if you are familiar with Jane Austen works and you read it a lot, yeah, you'll be able to. Because yes, the language a little bit sophisticated, but everybody can understand it. This
Yeah,
is
okay,
the
go on with
number
the
3,
next
the
amplification,
third
right?
technique. Yes, this is the amplification technique, and this is different. Sebaliknya dari yang tadi saya jelaskan, Pak, yang the one that I explained earlier was
Yeah.
compressive
Compressive.
linguistic compression. So this one is amplification. So it means that the
Linguistic
translator,
amplification.
yes, we have some linguistic elements that kind of compress, and we do amplificate them. We try to amplify those linguistic elements. In these techniques, the translator tries to add information that could be used to explain the context accurately. So in this technique, for example, if we have some gaps, the translator tries to fill those gaps. An example would be good for that, because if we use theoretically, it wouldn't be um, as good as showing examples. So in the target language, the wife was telling her husband that we need to make our daughters get married to the rich guy because he gets 5,000 a year. So her husband said, really? So bahasa sasaran, the Indonesian version, it was translated like that. Penghasilannya 5.000 bertahun. Sungguh. So the wife didn't say that the 5,000 for a year. The word penghasilan, it means income. So it was 5,000 a year, and in the Indonesian version it was translated, his income is 5,000 per year in 1 year. Really? So I mean, the translator added explanation. So she didn't say that the man get 5,000 a year as income, but we can understand it from the context.
Yeah.
But the Indonesian translator or the translator added the word penghasilan,
Penghasilan. Yeah.
which means income. Yes.
Mm.
So what he did here is that he used the amplification technique. He added other techniques
And
to
some other
explain.
words. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Um, Another example, um, the friend was telling her friend, another friend of her, the friend of of Miss Elizabeth was telling her that Mr. Darcy is arrogant guy. He's very arrogant. Sombong Scully, Tabi. Uh, what do you think about getting married to him? So Elizabeth answered, I wouldn't dance with him for all of Derbyshire. She means that she wouldn't want to dance with this guy because he's very arrogant. Even if she got all of Derbyshire, this is a very, this is like district or something like that. It's very
Mm.
big in distance, inhabited by lots of people. So the Indonesian version was, aku tidak akan dansa dengannya kalaupun dia pemilik seluruh Derbyshire. I wouldn't dance with him even if I was the owner of all of Derbyshire.
Mm.
So the translator added the word Domelik and added the word Seluru.
Mm.
So he used the word, the techniques, amplification. So because maybe he assumed that Indonesians audience wouldn't be able to tell from the context of the English word, or maybe this is the way the Indonesian translator or the translator
Mm.
thought that it would be accurate to deliver the message.
Yep.
So the translation was, I wouldn't dance with him even if he was the owner of all of Derbyshire. Okay. So the word Bamalik was added. The owner, yes. Silakan, Mbak.
Yeah, we may say saya tidak sudi, let's say in bahasa Indonesia. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know the word Sudi, but
Yeah.
since the translation was that, I
Mm.
just used the translation because me wasn't the translator. Because it wouldn't be credible also if I translated the movie myself.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. You just quote
Yes.
from someone else. Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
Yes. I used the subtitle and I show it to my professor and she approved it. So I just started my task on it. So
Mm.
the other example is modulation. This is number D, the
Yeah.
D modulation. In this technique, the translator tries to explain the meaning that explained within the message that he wants to deliver from a semantic aspect. But the meaning is the same. The meaning that he wants to deliver is still the same. So it means that he delivers the meaning from a different perspective
Mm.
in a semantic way. But the context and the meaning tetap sama. I mean, they are still the same. So here an example. In the English version, I wish I read more, but there seem to be so many other things to do. In the context of this example, that there was a party and everybody was talking about their interests.
Mm.
So the sister of Elizabeth was asking another guy, the friend of Mr. Darcy. His name was Mr. Bennett. She was, I think her name was Jane, I think. I forgot her name. She was asking Mr. Bennett, do you read? So he said that he wanted to say that he wish he could read, but he doesn't have time, or there are many other things that he could do. So he said, I wish I read more, but there seem to be so many other things. It was translated, aku ingin baca tapi, lebih banyak tetapi aku sangat sibuk.
Yeah.
So it was translated like that. I'd like to read more, but I'm very busy. He
Yeah.
didn't say in the English version that he was very busy. He
Mm.
just said that there are so many other things to
To do.
do.
Mm.
Yes, so it was translated sangat sibuk. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. In terms of
So what we
meaning,
mean
right?
here is that yes, it's different semantically, but still the same context and the same message that he wants to deliver.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Another example for that, we are a long way from Grosvenor Square, are we not, Mr. Darcy? In that context, it's kind of metaphorical in this example, because there was a very rich lady. She was talking to Mr. Darcy, a very rich guy as well, and she was talking that the people who are living in this area, they are like mediocre, they are like lower in class. So she said, we are a long way from Grosvenor Square, are we not? So here she doesn't mean the distance, the physical distance. It means that we are far from them, like in the meaning. We are very rich and they are very poor, and they are not very like refined in manners. They are not having good manners. They are not having good ethics. So it was translated like that. Levelnya beda sekali, levelnya beda sekali dengan Grosvenor Square. Iya kan, Tuan Darcy? So it was translated like, at the level, the word we are a long way from Grosvenor, it was translated, our level is way different from Grosvenor Square. So he actually translated the semantic meaning that's delivered by the message, the original message. When she said
Yeah.
we are a long way from Grosvenor, she wanted to say that our levels are so different. So the translator just used the word level and said
Yeah.
the level is very different from those people living here. Don't you think so? Yes. I think it's very clear now, modulation, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Well, Sadaf, want to know that the title of the movie, and then
Pride and
Stella,
Prejudice.
Pride
It's
and
very
Prejudice.
important.
Okay, it's Jane Austen. Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Quite popular.
the next technique was the literal translation technique, or technique بنرجمها literal. So
Mm.
this technique, everything is translated literally. So word by word. In this technique, the structure of the word of the target language and the elements that translated are usually in compliance with the language, with the target language that we want to translate into. So an example for that would be uh, Bahasa Somber. You know he must marry one of them. That was a lady talking to her husband. She wants to make her daughter get married to a rich guy. So she's telling her husband, you know, he must marry one of them. So Bahasa Sasaran or Indonesian version, kau tahu dia harus menikahi salah satu anak kita.
Mm.
You know that he should get married to one of our children or
Mm.
our daughters, one of them. So, yeah, a little bit different, but this is almost the exact translation. You know, kau tahu,
Kamu tahu? Yeah.
he must, dia harus. Marry one of them, menikahi salah satu anak kita. It is
Mm.
the exact translation as the literal one, no variation, no difference, just word by word. And I think the translator did that because the translated sentence is already accepted in Indonesian context. I think so.
Okay. Thank you so much, Hen. Well, I'm
Most
sorry
welcome.
to interrupt.
Yes,
Let's
actually, we
say
ran out of time. Yes.
because now the time is 2:40.
Ah,
You may have other
yes.
activities as well. And once again, thank you so much for you sharing with us about this one. And if you don't mind, share the some pages of your, I mean, related to this one, related to techniques.
Yes,
Yeah,
actually, I don't
just
mind translating my whole
just
thesis with my friends
just not
here.
all.
Yes.
Let's say, if you don't mind, share with us. So well, everybody here have more example actually based on your thesis, based on the data that you have found from your thesis.
Yes, true,
at
true.
least to enrich or to what's that to broaden our knowledge related to techniques of translation.
Yes, sure, but
Oh,
sure. Thank you
yeah,
so
thank
much.
you so much, Hen and everybody. Because the time is up, and I have another class as well at 3. So,
Yes.
we should finish soon. Once again, thank you so much, everyone. And then next week.